Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lewwe Hear From Doc. I'm your host Amanda Chapal George, and with me is Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Claudius Mitchell.
Back on the road again.
On the road again. So Doc, how was the weekend?
Quiet as usual. Of course, doing what I have to do. So just looking forward to Monday's chat session.
Well, we have some really interesting topics today. Many Grenadians say this is the worst they've seen again, or roads, but a lot of potholes and stalled projects, unfinished drains, even basic debushing left undone. And you touched on that a few times. From your years of experience and the perspective, how do you view the state of our infrastructure today, and what does it mean for the people who live with it every day?
Well, talking about infrastructure, as you know, infrastructure involves roads, your water, electricity, telephone service, and so on. But remember, roads is what you see physically. You land in a country, the first thing that you recognize about a country is about its road network. If the road network looks good, the country's image in your view looks in a positive sense. If they are on the opposite side, it does not look good, then it tells you, in your mind, you formulate in your mind, something is wrong here with this country. So it is clear, and as I mentioned before, one of the reasons I think that I became, in the public eye, a national figure, because I never saw myself in this light when I came into the politics. Because I was perceived as having done an excellent job, a good job on the road situation in the country, which was, of course, roads were almost non-existent. So we had to do a lot of work planning and working on the road network in the country. So just the fact that you see the potholes in the roads there, which was never the case for years in this country. Under the new National Party, we did in fact maintain the roads. We are not perfect, but certainly no one could say there were big, massive potholes in the road. In addition to the potholes, we had the cleaning of the drains, because if you don't clean the drains and the water is allowed to settle there and overflow, it can affect and create potholes in the road. So cleaning of the drains was also an important factor, which we did. In addition, for two reasons, and I think I mentioned before in other programs we had, that you go around the country now and you see the bushes as tall as ourselves individually and so on. And it means that there are no cleaning of the sidewalks on the roads throughout the country. So, and we saw this as one a health issue, okay, an environmental issue. So the need for cleaning the roads and cleaning the drains and cleaning the sides of the roads and so on, the bushes and so on. In addition, we knew that a lot of our people, historically, all through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, in previous governments then, there were a lot of people who you were not able to find permanent jobs. And clearly the ability to give them something to do, cleaning of your drains, were also another factor involved in this. So you're killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. So what is happening now, there's very, very little work on the road. So the poor people have no income, no money to spend. It's affecting the economic activity in the country as a whole. And secondly, the danger of these bushes being so high. And it has an environmental issue, but it's also a security issue, because in fact accidents can occur by the fact that these bushes are blinding people and drivers as they pass by the roads in the country. So that was another factor. In addition, problem that we see on the road. They have started digging up a number of sides of the roads in different parts of the country, and the projects are never really finished. So they live in some dangerous sections of road, which exposes people to fall into large holes and cause them damage, serious damage. And like it appears that these roads, these projects, when they start and these projects, there's walls on the side of the road and there's no real properly planning process and estimation done. So they seem like the money can never finish. So the contractor does as much as he feels that the money can do. That's my estimation. I don't know why this is happening. And therefore you're dealing with incompetence, inexperience, and real problems for the country. So that was another a factor as far as these roads are concerned. So you have a combination of problems as far as our road network is concerned. You're seeing it. I remember in the 84, 85 period when I came home, I remember Sokoboka, because of the roads under the PRG, they were more into a lot of more national and regional issues and not less about the problems of road network in the country. And Sokoboka sang a tune called Roads in the Hole. In other words, when you pass in an area, there are more holes than possible roads and so on. And so that is what is almost appearing to happen again. And that's a bit concerning for, I believe, almost everybody in the country as a whole. So we have a serious issue of the road network in the country, and that is happening throughout the country. Even when the main road in Grenada, as you land from the airport and you come, you start seeing it happening. Take Molyneux project. I understand the estimate is that already could be over $28 million. I know about 30 something was allocated, but they indicated about that spent already. And we in the recent rain, you almost had a river on the roads, and the big potholes emerging on that road is supposed to be a new road, and so it tells you. So we have a serious problem with competence and the normal practice. What is happening in Closure Road, for example, work started, and you cannot blame contractors. It's not a contractor. It's those who are leading the process, who are ensuring this work were done in a particular way. If the contractor is guided by technical analysis and so on, he has to operate within that space. But if he is not, and he's left to do as he sees based on his knowledge, then you can have major problems. So some people might be wanting to criticize the contractors in many of these projects. The contractors are not the one who is responsible for coming up with design of these projects, and of course the supervision of the activity done by the contractors. They're not going to be supervising themselves. So somebody who is in charge, or the authorities, must take responsibility for the kind of incompetence that you see around the country. And you could name all the roads around the country. What exists in Woburn is another example. Start and can't finish. There's ages now. And just go around the country, you see the same story. In Carriacou, the same story, where the rehabilitation of the work that was done after burial, even with the $118 million that we left for them. They seem not to be able to satisfy a minimum amount of people with this massive amount of money that we left them.
Doc, corruption is a word that comes up again and again in Grenada politics. From your experience, how has corruption, or even the perception of it, shaped public trust, and what impact has it had on ordinary citizens and all political culture?
I think they want us to accept that wherever you have things are being done and with large sums of money, and particularly if our government is concerned, people are going to be very watchful of what is happening, particularly in the case of taxpayers with their resources. So I think it is not isolated to Grenada. Almost every country you go in, you hear stories about possible lack of transparency, lack of accountability in the spending of resources. But what you see now in Grenada is far deeper than the question of what is normally said. Because, for example, I've always told people that we had several inquiries about projects done during my time as Minister of Works, and not one evidence came out as to any ratchery or lack of accountability in those projects. But what you're seeing now and you're hearing is quite far deeper, and it must be troubling. And what is significant is that when rumors appear to be something happening, and it appears to be more than just rumors, you see the leadership move and do something about it. I was in government, and when the attack on me on this briefcase issue, I thought the government image was involved. I initiated a commission of inquiry on my own self and my government, because that's the only how you would clarify it. Now, clearly, if I felt I was guilty, I would have resigned. I wouldn't wait to come forward to establish an inquiry on myself, knowing that evidence will come out and people are going to come there, and people that do not necessarily share my views or like me personally, like the government that I was leading at the time. But you gave people an opportunity, and that's what was done. But now, all these information, all these rumors, and clear some people provided facts with checks and other things, and nothing has been done. It's just business as usual. And that, I believe, is the most frightening thing. And I think that's the problem, I believe, this government is having. It is not just that the normal rumors. It is that while the rumors have become quite substantial, you see nothing has been done. Even ministers were accused of wrongdoing, that you see them continue to be in the same position, and not one thing from the leadership about accountability and transparency. In fact, the former Prime Minister, Brother Tillman Thomas, he was known to be a man always talking about accountability, transparency, and good governance. And I am not hearing him at all. It looks like he's gone completely. His mouth has gone completely shut. I would certainly hope that my good friend and former Prime Minister Tillman Thomas would start talking again about accountability, transparency, and good governance.
Doc, healthcare again is one of the loudest cries from our people, whether it's hours waiting in hospitals, the lack of medication, or difficulty accessing specialists. From your perspective, how does these struggles reflect the state of our nation?
Well, as you know, healthcare involves the life and death of individuals. So every citizen would be concerned about the state of healthcare in this country, and it should be, because any one of us could be in a situation where it require emergency healthcare. Even some of us that have the ability to travel to get the most advanced healthcare services would have to know that if something could happen to you, that you have to be stabilized first before you can move. And I know friends of mine and family members in the past who have reached that situation where they, in fact, had the ability to fly, but they had to be stabilized first. So everyone will be concerned about the state of healthcare in this country. And that's a problem, because we're hearing stories that about the lack of basic medication in different health centers around the country. We knew that a lot of the initiative we took with the Guelph projects and other projects around the country, the Victoria Health Center and so on, that the equipment that we had in Guelph, and we understand that it's no longer there, and it's not really functioning at the level it should, and there are other areas that we invested enormous amount of resources in modernizing the facility and bringing in equipment and so on, that we understand now that they're no longer there. And that must be a serious concern for every single person in the country. So I'm quite worried about the state, because you go to you hear people telling you that they have to bring, literally, when they go to the hospital to visit the family, they've been given prescription that they themselves have to go to access in the private medical pharmacy or in the country as a whole. Not that that is always, you can say, a blame to be blamed the government, because you could have a shortfall at a given time. But what is happening now is far more pronounced than a normal situation where there are serious problems emanating. And one of the things that happened, as we know, we had the OECS health facility that we joined and were able to meet our responsibility, so that whenever we need medication, we are able to access it from the pool, from the regional pool, because if we're buying in bulk, the larger the amount you buy, the cheaper the cost per unit. And therefore we are able, but right now I understand that they're not meeting their responsibility at the OECS health facility. So the cost of medication on the market for individual products would be much higher than it would have been had they were meeting the responsibility to the OECS health facility.
Dr. Mitchell, the NNP has often been dubbed as the youthful party. From your perspective, why do you think the party has such a strong connection with the young people?
Well, I think a lot to do with the initiative that we took. I mean, we mentioned how many different types of programs. Sister Kate recently was outlining all the programs that we had that young people were, even the boys on the block that were normally not involved in many governmental activities. There was a program for the boys on the block to be able to get training and opportunity and stipend that go with that gave them keep them occupied and looking at ways of advancing and improving their lives. So this is something that we understand, that young people, and of course our investment in sports. As a young boy growing up, every young boy or girl wants to be doing things, exercising and playing some sport, whether it's basketball, whether it's table tennis, whether it's cricket, football, athletics. They would be involved, and therefore we had to have the facility. That's why the National Stadium, and we invested heavily. And I remember the NDC opposition was very critical and said we're wasting money on two stadia. And today they're boasting about the facility and using it, and quite rightly so. But because the NNP had a vision that we invested heavily in education, because that's extremely important to the knowledge-based society that we're living in now. We invested in the healthcare of the citizen, and of course we invested in the playing facilities. So we would have a society that's educated, healthy, and only thing left is if you have education, health, and you have development, then you have a productive society. So we that was our vision of creating an educated, healthy, and productive society. Very simple words in that respect. So I'm not surprised that the young people would have seen that we have invested to the last election, maybe many of them, because we were there for 3 terms of people, and for years people say time for change, time. But I think they now realize it's not just change, it's about what the change offers you going forward. And it's clear that the young people are frustrated. There's not a simple program right now to aid the development of youth in the population as a whole. And when you compare that to the NNP, you cannot say that was the case. So I think that explains why one might perceive that there were the NNP seen as a party that has done a lot for young people, more than any other organization in the history of adult suffrage in this country.
Doc, we're almost about to wrap up, but in today's media environment, false news, fake news, and what some call dirty politics seem more common than ever. How do you think these dynamics affect Grenada's political landscape?
Well, if you first of all, if you're leading a country or you're involved in the management affairs of the country, as a government is supposed to be, you want to have an atmosphere where you could have we should be always willing to work with each other, whether we're not, we basically share the same ideas on most issues. In other words, you want to have as much national unity as possible, because the more unified the country, the stronger the authority in government will be, because you are able to get people involved to aid the type of program, the success of the type of programs that you initiated. And if you have a divided society, then clearly it works against you also. So it's in your interest not to create an atmosphere of divisiveness in affairs of the country, because it will backfire on yourself and your image and so on. And that's one of the reasons that we constantly, people wondering, people who are against the government that I led, and even people known to be have been nasty to me. Over the years, I forgive them and work with them in terms of government projects and activities, because I believe that is necessary to make people believe that the government serves not just its party people, people who it's perceived to have supported it, but is also interested in the national development of the country. Quite opposite to what we see today. We hear statements that don't give in, don't have nothing to do with him. She's an NP, she's a keep person, he's a keep person, which is absolute nonsense, because I don't think Grenadians are tied very much to political labels, party labels, today as they were maybe 40 years or 50 years ago in the GLP, when you say you're gay right, you're gay right, and you come from a gay right home, you better know anyone in the house have to talk the same language. That's not the case today.
No.
You have homes in Grenada where the wife is voting for one political party, the husband supporting another party. And what is wrong with that? I mean, it's not the most ideal thing, but that's, they are two individual persons, their own individual, love each other, but they have different views and different issues. And I think that's what you want in a society where people can differ with one another, but willing to work together for the continued development of the country. And my philosophy is very clear, and it was well known that when this government, when we lost the election, quite unexpectedly so, because I didn't expect that we would lose, but we lost. I called and offered and said, look, I'm willing to work to help in the interest of the country. I would not be giving any advice to the government on political matters, but things that involve the development of the country and the success of the country and the future of the country. I am not going to hold back, because I've always said, God first, country second, and everything else after this. That the party comes third and fourth and so on, going down the line. So I always felt strongly that no matter which government in office, and if there's a serious national issue that I could offer my over 40 years experience in government, that I would be willing to do it. But the story is told what the result of that first call I made. When the respondent indicated that he called me, I called him, and he wanted them to know that he didn't call me. And I said, what a fool, making a statement like this. And someone is willing to be a builder, willing to work with you in your own success. And you're saying that you want to make sure you must know that I didn't call him. In other words, I was begging him. I'm 40 years, you just come yesterday, nobody knew you before. I was involved in all sorts of things in the country, and the political life of the country, sporting as cricket captain, one of the island player, all kinds of stuff. And you just come in, nobody knew you, you had no claim to fame in anything. And you're behaving like, well, there must be trouble on the horizon, and therefore it's not surprising to me. What is taking place in the country today is a clear indication of the arrogance, the incompetence, the lack of knowledge. It's almost foolishness, as you see in some cases. You can't describe it otherwise. Unfortunately, the country is the one suffering for that.
Doc, you've been trending and in the public eye for so many years, often being the topic of conversation. How have you personally learned to deal with that level of attention and scrutiny?
Well, initially, if you just come into something like you just get into politics, it will affect you. So I used to be very angry. And when I just heard politics and things were said and written about me in newspapers or on radios, announcements on radio, or people calling in and saying things which were false. This affect me, and I used to be mad like that. But you learn over the period of years that that's not necessarily the case. In fact, if a political opponent of someone wants to hurt him, if you just attack the person all the time, even when they did something everybody sees as positive, you're still attacking, then you lose credibility. And what you do is promote the person and things. So I'm saying, if you or anyone wants to get into politics, you have to wish that your opponent keep attacking you and saying negative things about you. If you're working somewhere and they want to get rid of you and they promote you, then say thank you very much for that promotion that you're giving me. I didn't ask for it, you gave me. So I have to accept it, because that's what life is all about. People are not stupid. People understand the fact that when someone is in public view and they're being attacked, and you can find nothing good to say about that person, something must be wrong. If you have a newspaper and you spend all your editorials and every statement you make attacking an individual, you ineffectively will be promoting that person, because people know, even when something is happening, works in the interest of the country and people want to see it as positive, you still have something negative to say. So clearly you're operating on the basis of hate, and people are not going to follow you and follow your comments if you just say it. You know, there's some people who are supposed to be on radio and making statements when NP was in office and cussing the Keaton each other. Today, you could hardly hear their voices. People not listening to them because they have nothing more to say. Because we are not in government. Your party not in government. So therefore, you have to start to cuss your party if you want the people to listen, at least to hear you. And since you can't do that, then you become just another outlet for news out there, and that's a problem in itself.
Well, Doc, that's all the time we have for today. Folks, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.